This is the underglow effect on a sand art table, and this lighting has never been done before. A popular way to light them is from the outer rim, which still looks impressive, but I wanted to see if I could get the LEDs to glow through the sand from underneath. But to do that, I have to find an LED setup that could cover the area of the sand garden.
Cool.
And then engineer a bigger gap between the magnet and steel ball without disrupting the magnetic connection that makes it work. And considering no one has done this before, I wasn't sure if it is possible. The first big question, is there a practical LED setup that I could use for this project? Or do I have to create my own? I'll let my past self share what I found when I started this project. This is the LED set I got to light up the sand garden from underneath. It's almost as wide as the sand garden and very dense with LEDs. One downside, I have to figure out how to rewire them because this mess isn't going to fit underneath the base and in between the magnet contraption. It's just not going to work. But once it's rewired, I'll have access to every LED and the full RGB color spectrum to play with. Well, that's the hope. You see, these are addressable LEDs, and like how I can send you a package to your exact address, the code can interact with each individual LED, giving us the ability to create any design we want on this bad boy. The primary question with this build is how thin does the base have to be for it to still control the steel ball? And the only way to find that out is to start testing. So I dismantled the sand garden and placed some cardboard between the magnet and ball to see how much distance I could get. I even tested the new LED ring just to make sure it didn't cause any surprising distortions to the LEDs or magnetic field. The tests were a bit surprising. The distance on the original sand garden is 3 millimeters. I realized talking in millimeters doesn't mean much to many people, so to help understand the scale of 1 millimeter, let's use an object many Americans can relate to, a penny. It has a thickness of 1.5 millimeters, which makes the original base at 3 millimeters 2 pennies thick, and our current test gives an optimistic 11 millimeters before it loses all magnetic connection, or a little over 7 pennies. And for scale, the LED ring is 3.5 millimeters, not including the solder points, and then add 2 base plates, the bottom and the top. It definitely helps put into perspective why no one else has done this before. But before we start building the new frame, I need to rewire the LED rings to minimize the thickness, which included desoldering and resoldering all the connections and hopefully in the correct way, because if I can't get this to light up, this project is done. There are 4 solder points on each ring, 2 for power down the center and the input and output for the signal. You may have noticed I'm running the signal wires awkwardly in front of the rings. That's because the signal connections on the rings output from one side and input to the other side of the next ring. Because thickness is our biggest enemy, I realized running the wires through the LEDs on the front side that are the same thickness of the wires kept it as thin as possible and prevented any crossover of the power wires, which I left exposed. But I did end up putting some electrical tape to cover them up, just to be on the safe side. As you can see, I stripped all the wires, which is kind of dangerous because I can short circuit pretty easily, but I'm trying to keep it as narrow, clean as a profile as possible. So I'm taking a gamble to see if that works. Now we're going to plug it in for the first time to see if it does actually work or if I somehow screwed something up. So cross your fingers. Here we go. Nothing. Great. After some testing and reviewing a video I took before desoldering, thankfully, I realized I followed the pattern of the last set of rings. Shoot. Only to find out that one didn't follow the pattern of the rest of the rings. They're all backwards. So I desoldered and resoldered all the signal wires the correct way. Yes. Oh, it's working. One critical part complete. Time to engineer the new frame. And that is where my new 3D printer comes into play and makes this project possible.
What happened there?
But it also added a lot of new things to learn.
It kind of worked, but that is... Whoa.
We'll see how well this goes. For the LEDs to glow through, I needed a new top base plate, and I found a few nice 3D print files someone else already created on the HackPack Discord, which, by the way, is a great community where you can collaborate with other engineering enthusiasts and learn how to dive deeper with the HackPacks. For this print, I used a transparent filament at 2mm to see how it looks with the LED rings.
Pattern 1 starting. Whoop. So there is no sand, so obviously that's going to play some interference. And just for fun, let's light it up. Cool.
Last thing we need before we can put this together are some spacers to identify the optimal distance. The two base plates and silicone are 5mm, and I started with a 6mm spacer for a total of 11mm to do the final test. Well, so far so good. Even without the sand, it looks pretty cool with the underglow. At this distance, you get some good diffusion. Let's just hope it works when we add the sand. And that's a negative. Basically no movement at all. Well, let's swap out the spacers and drop it to 9mm and test it again. If this still doesn't work, I have to print smaller spacers, and at that point they are as thin as the LED ring. Now 8mm. Turn the lights on.
Oh crap, what did I do?
And it looks like I broke the LED ring when putting the new spacers on. Ah, great. The highs and lows of engineering. It started out so good until we added the sand and found out just how much the sand increases the resistance. That was not at all accounted for when testing. Another time of dismantling the sand guard. As I feared, a little short seemed to occur when the ring was pressed between the plates. Thankfully, it didn't destroy the LED ring. I fixed it with some hot glue to keep the exposed wires separate, and now we can test 8mm. Fingers crossed.
No! So close.
The first design isn't thin enough, so I'm going to have to redo the base plates. But at this point, I just need to figure out the max thickness that still gets reliable magnetic connection to move the steel ball, and if it's even possible to sneak an LED ring in that range. And 7mm does the trick. Time to create a 3D print for the new base plate to keep the total thickness under 7mm. And the LED ring is 3.5mm, along with the silicone, which is 1mm. It may have to go. So far, I had only printed 3D prints others had designed. This is new territory for me. While I have done a tutorial on Blender, you know, the donut one, I have been told Blender isn't the best for engineering CAD models and shifted to Fusion. Okay, well, how does this work? Time to watch a few YouTube tutorials. Eventually, after several hours, I created a new bottom base plate with 1mm bottom and a groove for the wires to sit in. To replace the spacers, I designed a 4.5mm wall that also prevented the light from glowing out the bottom. The top plate was originally 2mm, so I reduced it down to 1mm and switched it to white, hoping for better diffusion. Altogether, we have a 4.5mm bottom base, a 1mm top base, a 1mm silicone with a total of 6.5mm, under the 7mm max, and hopefully that will do the trick. Once again, time to rebuild the sand garden. I've lost track of how many times I've done this now. Oh, and I resoldered the LED ring for the third time to start the signal wire on the center, thinking that would make coding the LED Painter app easier. And as I hoped, it actually works. Seeing the colors glow through the sand definitely makes it mesmerizing to watch. I was a bit surprised how well it glowed, and it makes it a bit difficult to see the sand pattern. And that's when I wondered, how would it look with black sand? I'll have to try that later. I'm currently using the patterns that come with the LED ring controller, and they are pretty cool. A few don't work due to lack of power, and you tend to go blind as you look at the LEDs going through the 76 patterns, with many of them being color changes of the same design. But I wanted to be able to create my own static designs, and maybe a few new moving patterns of my own. Oh, and add the rim lighting for those who enjoy that look too. I decided to stick with the 3D designing after the first print went quite well and save the coding portion until last. Well, my confidence was soon crushed.
So I designed a diffuser for the LEDs around the outside and they keep pulling apart. Not exactly sure why that's happening.
The initial idea was to have an inner wall that curled to the top and sat on the rim. Several failed prints later, and a test that was insightful, I switched gears and tried a smaller inverted version with the flat top and the diffusion portion would curl back towards the edge. With the upgrade, I learned how to make two sections print different filaments, allowing a cool black top with the white diffusion hidden underneath. It printed okay and looked pretty cool, but didn't fit. A few quick tweaks and the third version worked perfectly. The LED strip fit snug under the edge and it was held in place by the walls for a consistent glow all the way around. I'm actually quite proud of this print. It glowed flawlessly. Oddly enough, now I almost don't want to use the underglow with how good this LED rim lighting worked. At this point, it's time to create some underglow designs. The core challenge is figuring out how to code all 241 LEDs to display the desired design. My first idea was to draw out the LEDs on a piece of paper and number their positions and then figure out and translate how to do that into code, and needless to say, not efficient. My next thought, I wonder how hard it would be to create an app to paint the design on and have it write the code for me. I knew the general idea of how it would need to be done, but I wasn't looking forward to writing all the code. So I thought it would be fun to test and see how well AI could do it for me, and I gave Claude AI this prompt. First attempt had a nice UI, but not the LED ring. I gave it more feedback with a specific ring arrangement and LED numbers per ring and got a nice painter app. After some final touches, we have a functioning LED painter app to create your design and output the code to upload on an Arduino. For the first test, I copied the CrunchLabs logo with inverted colors.
Oh, that's close. But why is it yellow? Yeah, it doesn't color it properly when I don't have the USB plugged in. So that's just the 9 volt. That's the USB. I don't know why it does that. But I will say, that looks good.
With so many LEDs, they draw too much power, and the Arduino really isn't built for that many amps. I should be using an external power source for the LED ring to power the LEDs properly and protect the Arduino. It doesn't seem to like this setup. Now that it works, time to have some fun. I created a bunch of patterns on the LED Painter app and uploaded them to the separate Arduino dedicated for the LED ring. I also created a ripple effect that can have two different colors, one as the base and the second as the ripple. Once you learn how to prompt the AI for the LED ring configuration, they can easily code fun patterns for you. Last thing is to test the black sand. I bought some sand from Hobby Lobby and quickly realized it's much bigger granules. As I hoped, it blocked the underglow until the pattern reveals it, creating a cool Milky Way effect with the sparkling sand. Let me know what else you might want to see with this hack. I know there is a lot of fun potential and several people on HackPack Discord are already planning their own upgrades, including inspired by Orion, who's the king of the sand garden. Check out his hack here.